Hi, I'm Arin Greenwood. I'm a writer with the Human Animal Support Services Project, and I am very pleased to be talking today with Vincent Medley, the brand new director of HASS. Hi, Vincent.
Hello, how's it going, Aaron?
Good, Vincent. How are you?
Good, very good.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and what brings you to HASS?
So I have spent 22 years in the animal welfare movement. I started off as an animal control officer in the city of Dallas, and I pretty much have held every job all the way up to director that a person could hold in an animal shelter. I've worked with different organizations, whether it be Best Friends or the Humane Society of the United States, in different capacities, as well as some of the largest shelters in the country. And all of it is, yeah, I've spent my whole career. I feel like my career has been a personification of the transition from a rabies control mentality, which was really like in 2000 when I started, was we were still in that mode, especially from an animal services perspective, to seeing the ups and downs and really evolving as an individual and helping agencies evolve to become life-saving organizations that work in the community and provide services to pet owners to preserve that human-animal bond and to really do work that's empowering and leaves the community feeling good about the agency that serves them, because they um, they're the reason why we're here. Really are the people and the animals in the community.
I think that's just great, and I think it's exactly what this is all about. So what are you really excited to get working on now that you're leading HASS?
So HASS is, just the probably, not even probably, it is the most innovative, game-changing project in the animal welfare movement right now. And we have our pilot programs, we have all of our supportive shelters, and what we're working on as a group is, number one, sustainability of the things that have already been implemented. That's been very important, and getting to that level of how do we change cultures within the shelter, because a lot of times shelters are siloed. They have there's different departments or different divisions within an animal shelter, and a lot of times the groups don't talk to each other and they don't coordinate in a way where there's one direction and everybody's shooting for the same goals and communicating in a way that's best for, I can't tell you the number of times miscommunication has led to some type of poor or unexpected outcome for an animal or for a family. And I think I think the thing I'm most excited about is working with with the different shelters to create that sustainability, but then also to work as a team for the betterment of the community and for the animals.
Yeah, something that you said to me before when we've talked about just HASS and the programs and shelters and your background is that you really want everyone who is involved with animal welfare, no matter what their role, to feel like they don't have to do any of this alone, that they have partners and they have support, and that's community members who don't have to do it alone, that shelters who don't have to do it alone. I wonder if your feeling about that is sort of informed by your background and just all the work that you've done in various roles in communities and in shelters.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because a lot of times there'll be a good idea, a person that is really doing great things, a shelter that's doing great things, so many different levels. And it does feel isolating when there is that person that thinks different, or that shelter that's working a little different than other shelters in the community to make change. And so I think, as far as my experience in that, yeah, we as HASS, we want to make sure that people feel supported, that they have the resources, that they have the data that backs up what they're doing, and then also that they have a connection to a community, a national network of shelters and shelter professionals and the organizations within our movement, to feel like they're on solid ground, but also to grow professionally, to grow their shelter, to grow their programs, because HASS is more than just just one organization. We work with everybody throughout the animal welfare movement, because we want to see a better tomorrow, and we want to see a change in the way shelters are looked at. And we honestly, we want to blow it all up. We want to look at it and say, how do we take what we have and start from the beginning, and have an outcome that works, where solutions are created within the community, and the shelter is not looked at as the solution, but as a part of the solution. But we want to really blow up the whole dynamic and find a new way to do things that keep pets in their homes, and especially, like, for instance, community cats, keep those community cats within their community, because we know they're being taken care of by someone, and it doesn't need to be a situation where we have to always, or a shelter has to always know how that animal is being cared for, as long as we know that it is being cared for.
This is a really, really hard moment in animal welfare. Everybody is feeling it just all across the country. It's really difficult, and shelters, a lot of them are really struggling to save lives and really struggling to protect families right now. And they are giving it their all, and circumstances are very, very hard. What can HASS offer in this moment that's going to help these organizations, help these communities, help pets, help families?
What HASS can offer is research and information that helps them diagnose the problem that their shelter is dealing with, and help them either create or find a program that addresses it. I think right now what is happening in many cases, we'll take COVID. A lot of people have come up with conclusions about how COVID has resulted in what we know is our shelters being stagnant and not being able to get animals out as fast as they were before COVID. But the question is why? And a lot of people have come up with their own reasoning. And the first question we ask at HASS is, where's the data to support that? Let's look at the raw data. Let's look at your intake and outcomes. Let's look at your community as a whole, and what resources lie within that ecosphere of that makes up that individual shelter. And how do we come up, number one, diagnose the problem at its core, but then also how do we help create a solution to that problem, and how do we make that solution, well, and the first place we go is the community. How can we resolve that problem and solve it as a community, as a whole, and then the shelter as a secondary to that. But yeah, that, I think, dispelling some of the myths that people come up with, well-meaning people who really want to, diagnose the problem, but we've got to make sure, and this is what HASS is, the backbone of HASS, it's got to be informed by data, by research, and by professionals that are seeing it on the front lines within their community, because we don't know what the answer is, and we don't know the problem unless we are ready to go to that really granular level, where so we can resolve the problem at the point of its origin, rather than kind of stand back and say, well, this is what I see looking from the outside in. We want to solve the problem from the inside out.
Something that you've said before that's really stuck with me. I don't mean to keep quoting you back to you, but you've said a lot of interesting things since I've gotten to know you. You said one of the things that you really want to bring to animal welfare is joy, and to bring joy to people in communities who are interacting with animal organizations, and to bring joy to the pets who are interacting with animal organizations, and to the people who work in them. Where does that come from, that sense of of hope and of joy.
Yeah, so let's you know, pull back the curtain. I When I started in animal control, and that's what it was called when I started, was animal control. Our job was enforcement, and it was to go out there and issue as many citations as possible and to pick up as many dogs and cats as possible. And all of us felt like if we did that, we would be serving the community and we would be doing our jobs. And we couldn't understand why people got so upset all the time with us and looked at us as the enemy. And I watched families and the reaction that they would have when we took an animal from their home for violations that we could have resolved just by implementing a community-oriented, solution-oriented process where we train our officers and also have programs that help our officers provide services to the community and have you know, pets and families seek out those services that could help them to help the animals stay where they belong, which is in the home with their family. So I've seen that pain, and I've seen that pain in court when we've issued somebody a citation where, you know, it's a simple, you know, violation, like, for instance, no rabies tag, or a dog running loose that's not threatening the public, and that person gets heavily fined, and the money that they got fined could have been used to resolve the problem that we, or the violation that we say that they committed. And it's the, you know, it when I finally turned on, when the light came on for me and I saw the good that it did and how empowered people felt when we were empowering people to make the change at their homes that we want to see made, and that is going to keep their animals safe, and also you know, have that animal stay with the family, it's way more pleasurable. Like, my attitude, my interactions, my officers felt more they felt more willing to be out in the community, because they knew the community knew that they were there to help them, and it wasn't always just this punitive enforcement first mentality. And you know, I want to create as many of those moments of joy and possibility and empowerment as possible, because I think as a government agency, that's something that's possible. And I've not even, I think I know, because I've seen it. And what, you know, what a powerful place to stand in the community, to be that agency that is not only a catalyst for change within our organization, and I've seen this, but also a change throughout the industry, but also a change in the way city government and county governments interact with their residents. And I've seen that. I've seen how empowered how empowering an agency like ours can be, because we can be more dynamic, and we are in the community every day. And so I think, you know, yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see those moments of joy, and I want to see it produced as often as possible. And you know, I know that there's a pathway to do that in this work. And yeah, and I just think it's a marvelous challenge to take on, and really empowering for everybody involved.
So let's just get personal for a second here. Can you tell me about the pets who have inspired your work and inspired you to try to make this a kinder world for people and pets?
So yeah, all of my pets came from a shelter. Well, actually, that's not 100% true. One of my pets was actually a puppy on my front lawn, and I went around the neighborhood to try to find out who she belonged to. This was like 15 years ago, and nobody would claim her. And I definitely didn't want to take her to the shelter, because the shelter had enough animals. It was in San Antonio. And I'll just start with her. Her name was Blanca. She did pass away at 15, maybe a couple, well, it's been a couple of months. And you know, it was difficult. That's my husky in the background. She can't drink without having without over drinking and gagging at the same time. So that's another one that inspires me, but that's a whole nother story. um, but yeah, and so Belanca was like, she was my first um pet that I would say as that I didn't share. I've had pets in the past that I shared with roommates and things of that nature. But yeah, she passed away, and it hurt me a lot. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, everybody who has a pet that they consider a family member, it's hard to feel like I know for me it was hard to feel like I was doing everything for her. I was taking her to the vet, and the vet and I would talk. But she taught me a lot about love and the fact that every day she was the same dog, and no matter what was going on in my life, she looked at me the same. It was it's something that I miss a lot. And I didn't know I was going to miss it that much. When I was going through the mechanics of talking about stuff like quality of life, and that she's lived a good life, all those platitudes that they don't even matter, um, just because you know that's my loved one and I want her here with me. And so oh my goodness, so she was like my cornerstone dog, and not that my other dogs don't mean a lot to me, because they do. I have another dog named Red that I got from the shelter, and Red knows his name because the way I got him, he was a foster of my assistant when I was in San Antonio, and all I would hear all the time when she would bring him to work is Red. Like, she said his name 15 times because he was always doing, and I figured out why, because he was always into something. So, and he's the same way these last 15 years with me. He's like always, he has a mind of his own. He hears voices, and I know that because when I whisper, like I'll whisper, I play this little game with him where I whisper, and his head perks up like he's hearing a ghost. So he hears things. But he's one of the best. I respect him so much because he follows his own mind. Um, there's Trixie, who is I share with my partner, and in fact, yeah, Trixie is a dachshund just like Red is, and Trixie is she's a dog that a small dog who barks. The first time I heard Trixie bark, it sounded like a German Shepherd, and I was like, "What? Where's that bark coming from?" But yeah, it was her. Like, and it's like she's got a smoker's call bark. Um, I have Pete, Mr. Pete, who I share with my partner. My partner lost Pete for 5 years, and because of a microchip that Pete had, the shelter called her, and she was registered under that microchip. Pete was,
Oh,
and
wow.
so she dropped everything, and left and went to go get Pete, and so we've had Pete back now for the last 2 years. Um, so yeah, and then I always have fed, or always have had a cat colony. I feed outdoor cats. We have a pond in the backyard with a bunch of fish. So we feed the birds. Like, it's just, it's an ecosphere that we just respect life. We have a beehive that we have in our backyard that we yeah. So it's just a matter of just feeling like every living thing has a right to life, and some of them are going to be be close, that have been closer to us than others. But we just love animals, and I love all animals. And yeah, it's just inspiring to be a part of, just the world we live in, and a world that we can change the lives of so many different creatures. And so, yeah, that's what inspires me, is just being part of the change that we want to see. So,
Yeah. Oh, Vincent, I'm so sorry for the loss of your dog. And it's a beautiful tribute to her to work like this, to help others be able to live and to be with their families.
yeah, I
That's
thought I
really,
wasn't gonna get emotional. I figured
yeah,
you and I've talked before, but
we have. Yeah. Yeah. This time I just teared up instead of bawling my eyes out. But
right.
yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
bad sometimes, I'll tell you,
Oh, I know.
when I think about her. But she was very inspiring to me. And I actually, the Humane Society of the United States, when I was working there, they actually gave me a cup when she passed away that has me sitting next to her, and we're looking out into the sunset. It's a beautiful cup. I should have used it for this interview, but yeah, it's a really great tribute to her as an animal, and as part of my family. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Well, I really appreciate you doing this interview, Vincent, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you, Arin. It's been a pleasure, and I know we'll be working together soon. I just want anybody watching this video to know that we are working on behalf of, and this is not just someone's bright ideas, that we are working with industry professionals and using data and research to come up with the best answers. And we're going to make sure that those answers are out there and available to everyone involved, for praise, scrutiny, for questions. And we're always available and open to answering those questions, and having more people involved.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Say hi to Red for me. And I'll be up.
He's right over. He's sleeping, but when he wakes up, I'll let him know.
Please do. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.